Hey guys, it's Dakota White here, and today we've got a great install video coming your way. We're going to be installing the ARB Safari Snorkel. Let's do it. Alright guys, so I'm super excited about this one. This is something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. I found a guy selling the Snorkel on Facebook for about 30% of retail price. So I got a great deal on it. And then he threw in his old Fender already cut to fit the Snorkel. So what this means is I can just remove my OEM Fender and throw this bad boy on there. And so that way I will avoid cutting a big hole in my factory Fender. So we've got everything we need. Got a couple other parts that we'll talk about later. For right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just get some paint on this and let that sit and dry while we work on the truck. So I was going back and forth for quite a while trying to decide if I wanted to color match the paint on the Fender or just paint it black. I looked at prices of what it would cost to try and get it color matched. It's gonna be at least $100 by the time you get a good primer, the color matched paint, like a clear coat. And so I'm just really not wanting to spend that much money, and the paint's probably already faded a little bit to begin with. And so even if I do color match it, there's no saying if it's actually gonna match that. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna be using the Krylon matte black. That should take care of it, and we're just gonna rock the mismatched Fender. All right, we've got our professional paint booth set up. I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with a generic cleaner, get it cleaned up a little bit. We'll let that dry for a few minutes, and then we'll go ahead and start putting coats of the Krylon Fusion matte black paint and primer. We got the first coat on. I'm gonna be coming back, putting on several more coats. In the meantime, let's go take the Fender off the truck. So there are several bolts and clips and fasteners and everything you can imagine up on this wheel well line. So I just kind of taking my time, making sure I got all those. I think I should be set. There are several plastic punch-in clips in the wheel well liner that I'm not able to access. I'm not going to be able to work those out. I'm going to use the Dremel and just cut them off. I've already broken several, so I'm going to have to buy a replacement kit online and just fill them in as I put the new Fender on. So pretty limited on options at this point. So I might as well just make quick work of breaking those off. All right guys, so I got the Fender loose. The last thing to come out is the antenna, and I'm gonna have to look at this for a second. It's not real clear how this comes off. So I've had a chance to look at this a little bit more, and I've run into a little bit of a problem. So the Fender is loose, I can pull it off, but what's holding it on is this antenna. And I'm trying to take it off, and there appears to be some sort of special antenna nut that's holding this together, and I certainly do not have the tool to get that off. I tried putting like a flathead screwdriver and hitting it. That wasn't wanting to work. Put the channel locks on it, that wasn't working. Afraid if I mess with it anymore, I'm just going to destroy it. I'm already starting to kind of round that out, so I'm gonna have to look online tonight, see what I can find, but we'll have to finish this another time. Alright guys, so 3 days have passed since filming the first part of the video. Unfortunately, my fears were correct. This nut here has been a tricky one. So plan A was to get a flathead screwdriver and kind of fit it in the notch there and hammer it. Wasn't moving, wasn't budging at all. So plan B, I actually ordered the tool that's supposed to fit on that, and that just wasn't working. It just doesn't bite very well. It just kept slipping. It's pretty obvious that wasn't going to be an option. So plan C is going to be cut it off. So how this works is this black piece is the actual antenna. That's the actual cord that's wired into the vehicle. This black rubber piece is the ornament, and then this is the nut that centers it and holds it all together. So what I'm going to try and do is get the Dremel, and I'm going to try and Dremel off this nut here. But I'm going to try and do it so that I don't ruin the antenna or the ornament. So wish me luck. I spent a lot of time reading through the forums and seeing what other people were doing about that, and they kind of came to the same conclusion that I did. It seems like these guys get corroded and just get seized on there, and a lot of people are having a pretty hard time getting that off. So it seems like the Dremel was a pretty popular solution. So the whole point of trying to Dremel out that nut holding this together is so that I could reuse the center cable, the actual antenna wire. Well, the problem is just trying to Dremel that, I ended up ruining the threads on the inside. And so that's not gonna do me any good anymore. So I think I'm just going to take that bolt off and get the support beam, and then I'm just gonna end up snipping this wire right there. What I can always do is just at a later time just splice into this and run the wire right up through here, and I can just mount an aftermarket antenna. Like, you know, I can just drill a hole in the ditch light mount and do something like that. So I was hoping I was going to be able to salvage that, but not quite. I gave it my best shot, but I'm just going to have to go ahead and snip that. What I'm doing right now is I got the Snorkel laying on its side. I put the fender on top of it. And this is held together by a pretty decent sized washer and a nut. So I'm just going around and getting these put on. I'm not gonna have enough time to completely install the fender tonight. It's probably just gonna end up being a couple bolts and a couple zip ties for right now, but get everything in place and it'll make it just a little bit easier for the next time I work on it. Alright guys, so several days have passed since filming the previous video. Got super busy, but I'm back, I'm here now, and we should be able to finish the truck this evening. Right now it's temporarily on the truck, just zip tied with a couple bolts. So I'm gonna pop it off, and then I'll have to loosen a couple things on the intake and do a little bit of trimming, and we should be set. So let's get started. I'm going to pop the fender flare off of the OEM and snap it onto this one. What that's going to do is it'll help with the color matching a little bit, but it's also going to fill in these holes. The Fender flare is held on by these little plastic clips, so I'm just putting a little pressure, popping that through. All right, Fender is ready to go. So now we need to take the intake off. I'll explain a little bit later how this is all going to come together, but for right now, we just got just a couple bolts here, and we will take off the intake. All right, so we got it off. How this is going to work is we'll be reusing the factory box, filter, all of the tubing, except right here at the end, there's a little flange, if you will. It has a larger diameter that we will have to trim off so that we can put our flexible tubing over that, and then we'll tighten it down with the hose clamp. This is not necessary. All this does is just adds a little extra protection to try to keep some of that moisture and debris out. So I'm not thrilled about having to cut it off, but it's not necessary. And if I ever wanted to put it back on, I think I'd be able to just like use an epoxy and just kind of glue it back on. But it's not necessary, so we're gonna go ahead and trim that lip off so that we can get our tubing on. Now that we got it cut, we're going to take the sanding disc and clean up this edge. So the video that I watched, the guy installing the Snorkel, he had to loosen the AC line and he actually ran it underneath before he got to the intake. I'm looking at this and I'm not sure that it's necessary. It looks like it might fit just right on top. So I've pulled it through the opening and I'm going to try and wiggle it into position, just kind of loosely, and see what it looks like if I have to loosen this or if I can just get it to sit. I almost forgot, before we install this, we need to do a little bit of waterproofing. So on the factory intake, there are a few holes. And that is not going to help us with a Snorkel. That kind of defeats the purpose. So we're going to be using this JB water weld. We're going to roll it up and use that to plug the holes, and that should give us a nice watertight seal. For those that haven't used the water weld before, how this works is there's two different materials in the tube. So we're going to take our knife, cut off a little piece of this, and then we're going to rub it in together. And it's that mixture, that combination is what activates the epoxy. All right, we got our JB weld in place over the holes. That should just take a few minutes to set and we'll get it installed. All right, so we got our air box with our air filter all hooked up. Everything's tightened down, tubing coming in. We got our hose clamp in place. It's just a little loose right now. I want to be able to rotate this if I need to, but we'll go ahead and put our second hose clamp on and kind of mock up the fender and see if we can't get this installed. All right, we got them fully installed. Unfortunately, it got dark on me before I could get some good pictures, so tomorrow I'll go out, get some good pictures of it, and show you guys the final product. As promised, here's the final product, the ARB Safari Snorkel. This water you're seeing here, I actually went down to the local pond this morning and just drove straight into the pond. The truck was completely underwater and submerged, and snorkel worked great, and I'm just letting it dry off from that. So I don't love the mismatched fender. I don't think it looks that good, but the cost of trying to color match paint and do a nice clear coat, it was I just couldn't justify it. The truck is also a little bit darker blue, so it's really not that noticeable unless you get up close. But install wasn't too bad. It just took some parts, getting the right parts put together, and I think it looks pretty good. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more truck videos.